You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hey everyone, welcome. Merry Christmas to all, as this is actually being recorded on Christmas Day. And welcome everyone. Hope you're having a safe and happy holiday season wherever you are. And with me, as always, we have Mr. Casey Green joining us from the Midwest in his new studio. How are you doing, Casey?
Merry Christmas. Just thought we'd theme it up a bit.
Yeah.
You're hitting the bell.
And that, of course, is Moto, who's joining us as well. So, how did the Christmas morning go in the Casey household?
I was just getting started. I hit snooze a couple times.
I heard the bell.
Yeah, here's the jingle bell. And then we put on a pretty dress, and here we are. For those of you who are on audio only, when I finally catch up on the audio, she's wearing a beautiful blue dress with sparkles. And I'm just wearing a sweater, not I'm wearing a dress.
And Casey has dressed up the studio, as you can see behind him, with he just bought a car this morning, put it in, got some lights on it, the whole thing. Or it could be a photo, one or the other. You never know.
Well, the Model S right now, free supercharging for life, FSD transfer or FSD with a yes, my hair's jingle bell. FSD transfer or FSD sample for a little bit longer, and it's the Model S. Why not, right?
Why not? Exactly. Well, we got some news that we can go over today, and let's start with. And I don't even know how to pronounce this particular transportation company's name, but it's SIAI. I'm sorry, SAIA.
I'm still in Saia.
Saia?
I don't know if it's right or not. That's what they're calling them.
Saia Transport got themselves a couple of TeslaSemis to add to their fleet recently. They're a company that's been around for over 100 years in freight transportation. And of course, they're looking to move into some high efficiency vehicles, help them with their emissions, and of course, similar to others that have taken the TeslaSemi, they're looking to find out if the switch to electrification can help them, if it is what it's cracked up to be. And they are happy to report back that they've been impressed with the Semi, as it's demonstrated the ability to handle both local and longer haul applications within their region. And they have achieved a 1.73 kilowatt hour per mile. They indicated their drivers have been equally impressed, noting upon the smooth acceleration, the design, the ability to maintain speeds on steep inclines. Of course, this is in California area, so they do going up and down the foothills of California. And they're impressed with its heavy hauling ability for the loads that they have. So this again is another win for Tesla when it comes to the performance of the Semi, which has been done with of course Pepsi to start with, PepsiCo, their two brands, and of course Walmart and a whole group of others have gotten themselves one or possibly two trucks to roll into their fleets. So this is again another win, as we see that impressive 1.73 kilowatt hour per mile posted, and it's certainly going to make those medium and long runs possible, which many doubted would ever happen.
Yeah, I'm impressed at how consistent this is with the fuel economy across all the different places that are reporting it to us, from the Rolling Less campaign to the people who actually say, hey, this is what we're getting. And it's right there, the 1.7, 1.73, 1.75, 1.68. It's going to make money for some places.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. If those particular depots have the ability to install their own electric infrastructure, which they obviously do, because they've a lot of them have machinery and requirements for electricity already for the site. So being able to pipe that out into the parking lot and putting in a charger that can help charge their vehicles in an 8-hour cycle overnight, it's certainly going to allow them to get cheap overnight rates, non-demand rates, so they can run those vehicles during the day or at any time that they're on a route, and allow them to just burn that cheap electricity, which is basically surplus in the system overnight, because that's how the utilities price it. They price it lower when they have less demand, and therefore they have more supply.
Exactly. And then even whenever the megacharger network is on board, you've got the ability to buy the Tesla electricity at 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Carson Inside on X did the math on just fueling, and we're looking at about 51 cents per mile versus 17 cents per mile with the electric. And that's assuming nothing spectacular with the electricity as far as deals go, which you can.
So you said 51 cents compared to 17 cents?
Yes.
Wow.
With diesel at an average FPG versus just a corporate electric rate at whatever place he compared it to.
That's like a 70% discount on
just in fuel. That's free to maintenance, anything like that, and it was impressive.
Exactly.
And you know these folks are going to be able to get deals and bulk orders, and anyone who gets a mega pack or two is definitely going to be able to shift this in their favor. And then you look at the externalities. You've got they're going to get stuff there quicker if they go over mountain grades because they don't have to slow down to 20 and 30 miles an hour to get up the hills, mountains. And then you've got there's a time savings with that as well, because now not only are the drivers not getting stressed or anything, but they're making real minutes on the road. And you've also got even before we get to their maintenance savings, just all of that. Everybody around them, they get it's a certain boost because not people think, oh, I gotta get around this truck. It's like, oh, that truck's there, versus it's gonna slow me down, and then you get this whole situation where they're passing at 2 miles an hour.
Nothing like a truck race uphill to add to the fun of a holiday trip. That's for sure.
Yes, and I'm hoping that means they'll be able to whoever can do this first and pass the savings on to their customers first. That's actually going to massively affect the situation in retail, wholesale, anything that ships by truck today. And on top of that, if they're the first with the truck, they don't have to change a thing at first. So they're just raking that in as pure profit until the second team gets on board with it.
Well, that's the whole thing with testing the truck, right? Is you put one or two into the fleet, and they can actually come up with these figures, these white papers on their own, and be able to compare it to what the fleet actually does currently. So it's a big plus to be able to compare it live within your fleet when you're running your regular routes. And know that, this is not magic. This is just what the cost actually is. Yes. So the only thing that they may be taking a little bit of a risk on, of course, is maintenance for the future. Because, of course, the only real true test of endurance would be actually owning a truck, having it in your fleet for 2, 3, 4 years, and seeing what kind of maintenance is required. But of course, we do have the track record of some others that have had the truck for over a year, and we do also have the record of what electric cars overall, how they perform in maintenance over years of use as well. So it's certainly not an unknown quantity, but there's a small risk that a company would take. And of course, having one or two in the fleet certainly would allow them to be able to see what that will actually be.
Yeah, the other cool part about this versus any other company making an electric semi right now is there's a certain known quantity about this. This is a manufacturer that we're all very familiar with. They make millions of cars per year, and this is using components that we're all familiar with. It's basically a Model 3 motor amped up, not really amped up in size or anything. It's just really amped up in gearing and output. So it's even in the cyber. I think that the maintenance will be, yes, there will be surprises and there'll be stuff that we'll have to learn about it, but I think that it's going to surprise us in a good way versus what we saw in some of the competitors who this is their first run and they're coming straight from a diesel architecture and they're just swapping with the diesel engine and transmission. And
exactly, this Tesla's got that background where they've already done basically a decade of research, if not more, into electric motors and how they work and batteries and how they pull and what kind of charge is required. All that kind of stuff is well road mapped already.
Yes, and then you've also got, they've had 3 years of beta testing. They had 5 years, 10 years that they've told us about it, and they were running them in the background. And everybody who's led this program has had experience with commercial and semi. So we had was it Jerome, right? And then we have Mark Priestley now, and I think they're going to do a great job with this.
Yeah.
You got a picture where you can show them the wrap? This wrap's kind of like cyber themed a little bit.
Is that just the red wrap?
Yeah, the red wrap.
Yeah, I can. I think I've got a photo that I can show of.
The other cool thing about this is it's already equipped for a sleeper cab. So all they need for it to work for a sleeper is obviously whatever tweaks they're going to get from the drivers and the fleet operators. But they just have to install the sleeper cab into the space provided. And this thing will be ready for on the road or over the road, I should say, once the mega charger network is ready. Let's take a look at that image there.
Yeah, so we've got a red base, their name obviously on the door. Mm-hmm. And if you can't tell from the photo, it is a little bit fuzzy, but it looks like electronic printing on a motherboard.
Yeah.
So you've got yellow circuitry, it looks like, that extends off the cab and towards the trailer.
Hopefully when they do their own trailers, other than the customers, they'll match that theming. That'll be kind of cool co-branding there.
Yeah.
The other thing to look at here is now that we have the Megacharger V1 out versus the Megacharger betas, 1.2 megawatts. So now with the beta, this thing was already waiting on you while you were doing your legally mandated breaks and off times. Now it's going to do that even faster. So say you only have the one driver, comes into the depot, drops the trailer, boom, goes plug it in, and they did it late for some reason. Maybe they stopped to go to the bathroom before they hit it up. Plug it in, and it's ready to go before they are allowed to even drive again.
Yeah. Another thing to bring attention to in this photo is the skirt of the semi in between the wheels. You'll notice that the skirt goes all the way down really close to the ground. Yeah. And you may think, oh, well, that's going to be an issue when it's going over curbs or it's going up a grade a little bit into a depot or something along that lines. But this is flexible rubber. So it remains its shape. But if you do run into something, it does have the ability to fold and bend as the vehicle rubs against something that's more solid than the skirt.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was solid and they were using Tesla air suspension because they've got that too.
Yeah. And of course, they know that aerodynamics is the name of the game for fuel efficiency. And of course, if you are on a smooth, flat surface, it makes sense to be as close to the road as you can with the structure of the vehicle so that you haven't got air that's being sucked in under the tires and blowing some of that aero because it's working its way through the tires and the rear tires.
Yeah. We haven't seen too many of them with the super singles. They've all been the traditional rear duals. I'm curious if they're going to do that, if that was just something they were considering for a customer. Or maybe the customers weren't comfortable with it because it does make things interesting if you aren't up on your tire maintenance and you have a blowout.
Yeah.
That you can't have a blowout with properly maintained tires. It's just less likely to happen. The theory with that is it's less rolling resistance. And so it could save you money there. And I noticed they haven't yet activated or installed even the smart rear, not really the fairing because the fairing's on top, but the side skirts back there that made up the trailer. That'll be interesting.
Like the skirt across across the top.
That last part with the black rubber trim on the back.
Yeah.
From the fairing all the way down. That on the prototype that was active.
Okay. I have a feeling with the different types of cabs that they could offer.
Yeah.
I think that they only made one of the prototype small cab,
Right.
and
They've got 3 right now.
and,
Yeah.
and I think that one probably hasn't been on the drawing board because they want to simplify the building of them, keep them to just one type. There's less thought going into it. All the parts are the same, and of course the reiteration of the parts that they're actually adding to it as they're finding things that need to be upgraded or modified. It makes it easier if you only have one type of exterior.
Yeah.
But I have no doubt that once they get it locked in and a client wants the day cab, they'll be able to do it real quick.
Oh, yes. My prediction with this in the coming year is that as this rolls out and the Mega Pack, they are going to surprise us here even before we figure out what Model Next Elon and crew have been hinting about for the last couple of months is. And then this will be a moneymaker because it's already pre-sold out for years, as is the Mega Pack. And they just figured out ways to make it cheaper and charge faster. And it's going to be awesome.
Yep, you can definitely see that. It's again, with this being the 5th or 6th company that has got their hands on one, you can see now that they're starting to get things rolled out and dialed in because they're letting more and more people into the midst to access this type of vehicle. So, and we got a ton of people out there that are just dying to get their hands on it. But again, leave it to the big fleets because they're going to be able, if something was to go wrong, no one's going to lose their mortgage over not having the only truck they have on the road. Let's make sure that the fleets can put a few out of commission because of their size if they have to, and that makes it better for everybody down the line.
And we saw that early on with the PepsiCo and the Mark Zero prototypes. They had 3 or 4 of them just constantly just getting towed away off the streets, whatever. And it wasn't necessarily even that there was anything wrong with the truck. Several of them we found out after the fact were that the screens went blank, and the driver did the safe thing and just pulled over and waited till the truck could. Because you lost your mirrors, you lost your speedometer, you lost your map. Yes, you can drive it, but there's a chance you're going to be overspeed or you're going to miss a critical safety warning. So I don't fault them for doing the safe thing there.
Yeah.
Drive Tesla Canada has got us a list of folks who've been spotted with the Semi. We've got Saia, PepsiCo, Costco, Walmart, Cisco, the SY, see the food guys, US Foods, DHL, Martin Bauer, and somebody asked what about Coca-Cola. I said, no, they signed up, but they didn't get their trucks yet.
They can't because Pepsi got them first.
Right. Maybe an agreement says they won't get theirs until we get all the
like the taste test challenge, just on a bigger scale. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Whose truck is this? Exactly. Quick shout out to the chat room. We got Dana, we got Anders, Highlander, and Lindell joins us with some Merry Christmas notes, and we thank you for that. Certainly Merry Christmas. Happy holidays back to you. And if you're out there watching live, send us a note. Send us a, hey, how you doing? Send us a Merry Christmas. I'd like to see you in the chat.
I hope it's going well for each and every one of you.
Exactly. Next, Tesla has, it's very Supercharger centric, this show. And of course, that's why we've got Mr. Supercharger with us today. But this next story talks a little bit about the season, about Tesla V3 and V4 superchargers now warming the batteries in extreme cold.
But didn't they do this work?
They are, and I know you can get extreme cold at a supercharger for sure.
Yes.
But this is something that, again, the iteration of Tesla, the modifying of what they're doing in order to speed battery charging at superchargers. They may have learned a little bit from, for example, what happened last year in Chicago. Although that was a bit of a cascade of issues
Oh yes.
that ended up with the problem that they had with too many people waiting in line too long, and superchargers not working in the cold, the extreme cold. So this article from Tesla Canada talks a little bit about how these superchargers are now enhanced with cold weather performance for Model 3 and Model Y vehicles that are equipped with the LFP batteries. They're feeding the cars a little bit of a different. I guess it's really a temperature of sorts that those cars that can charge at 250 more can now actively preheat the battery when the vehicle is plugged in, as well as coming up to the supercharger. So this is something that they've modified to see if they could help with the battery's core temperature. Of course, you've noticed this when you're driving and you're approaching a supercharger that your vehicle says it's preheating. Well, now when you plug in, if it's of a certain temperature outside in this particular area, or if your car's core battery is of a certain temperature when you plug in, the unit is going to apply heat to the battery pack in a preheating mode before it tries to shoot it with electricity. So it's something that allows them to if you've got a warmer battery, it's more receptive to taking that electric charge. And they've looked at the data and said, you know what, it makes a lot more sense if we were to just feed it in when it's a little bit warmer. So maybe we trickle charge it at the beginning and we're feeding most of the energy into that battery to warm it. And then as it warms, we increase what it's actually charging at and helps the speed.
So what this one's going to do is, if you have those standard range packs with the LFP, they are going to do, which is very unintuitive, but it's going to allow them to charge up to 4 times faster, is what Tesla claims. They're going to run AC through the pack, through the DC connection, which sounds a little weird, but they're running AC into the battery itself rather than into the charger. So this is different than what you do at home with AC charging. And so the supercharger cabinet is going to put just the right amount of like AC waves. So just a little bit of inefficiency. What it's going to do is actually heat up the core of those LFP packs. And it's going to heat them up very safely and very quickly because that's happening directly inside the cells and the chemistry, rather than, like I said, I was kind of joking. Didn't they do this before? This is new. What they did in the past was they would do the battery preheat, either with the PTC heater on our legacy cars, or even on Mark's car. But then the ones after Mark's, they forgot the first version of the heat pump. What they started to do was do it with stator lock or basically the same thing, really, but in the motor. And they would kind of inefficiently drive the motor and then pump that heat into the battery pack. But now they're doing it directly in the cells of the battery pack, which is whoa. And I'm curious to see if they move that from just the LFP standard range packs all the way up through any of the rest of the cells, like maybe some of the new 4680s or 2160s. And then if they've got all the data, if they then take something like this to the just the existing cars, like bring it to Mark's car, bring it to my car, what would it do? That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm sure that kind of testing happens without us even knowing. Like they're in this article, they're specifically talking about the LFP, but that's what they noticed, that there was the issue with the smaller battery with the LFP. The charging speed was not as great in the cold. So why not preheat the battery when you get to the supercharger so we can accept that charge even faster? So again, playing with things, iterating, trying to see if they can make it better. And as Casey mentioned, I am sure they're trying it with the nickel batteries as well.
Yeah, and then since they're doing this directly within the battery, it's able to operate faster than if you pump it through the coolant, because then you got to wait for thermodynamics to just happen and pull its way through, versus like, oh shoot, I'm hot to the core. It's like the difference between microwaving something and warming it up in the oven. So like think TV dinners back in the 50s versus the 80s. It's a difference.
It definitely got better. Absolutely. Next, I got a photo here I can share with this next story as well. Here we go. Let's grab that. Boom. And you can tell by the corner of this car that this is not a Tesla.
Not Tesla.
But it is using an adapter to plug into a supercharger. And this, of course, is a Hyundai Ioniq 5, I believe. And what has happened is Hyundai has announced that they are going to be providing, get this, free adapters to their current customers so that they can plug in at Tesla superchargers. They're opening up the gates, they said, in early 2025 to 20,000 Tesla superchargers. So again, the number of superchargers continues to grow in press releases.
Yeah. Last we heard was what, 17, then 18,000, and now we're at 20,000 in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting that, and Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's Hyundai's getting access to a different number of superchargers than Ford or GM or the others.
Right.
I think it's just that the supercharger network is continuing to grow, and more V3s and V4s are being added to the system that are capable of charging the non-Tesla vehicles.
That's right. Yeah, so this is kind of cool. Word of caution, though, Tom Maloney has had a chance to either get his hands on the adapter or at least the specs for the adapter. This is not the Tesla adapter. It's not any of the other four we've seen already on the market that have been paired with the vehicles from the OEMs. There's obviously way more than that on the market. He cautions that this is a like a 280 or 350 amp connector, which is perfectly fine for the Hyundai platform, the Hyundai Kia Genesis platform, because what they have an 800 volt pack, so they don't actually run the voltage or the amperage that high. Everybody else so far is at a 400 volt pack, and they use a 400 amp connection, and then this doesn't do that. So he cautions about using this with a non Hyundai Kia Genesis vehicle, lest you be adding a fuse to the connection, and a fuse that's not rated for either end of the connection, because the cars and the superchargers will go higher if it's not a Kia.
So these chargers are nowhere the same that we've seen with Ford and GM, for example. These are completely designed by Hyundai for their particular cars.
Yeah, they have a contract manufacturer doing this for them, a Korean one, and what we've seen in the past is either they get the Tesla one, or they get like A to Z or A to Z, or they get Electron to make them for them. So far, those have been the ones that the OEMs have used, and they're very capable. It's just a matter of they're not made for a non-Hyundai, which she's eating the cheese off my eggs. It's not made for the. It's not a generic one, basically. You gotta.
Yeah, so like we saw when for example, when GM got introduced to the Supercharger network, we saw some testing of people going out there using a Ford charger on a GM product to plug in. And so that wouldn't be safe when it comes to this charger for the Hyundais. So something a little bit different. So keep that in mind out there, but perfectly safe for your Hyundai cars. No problem there.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a different adapter designed specifically for those cars.
Right, and it probably saves them some money, because it's the same thing we see with the high voltage, all the other high voltage cars. Like why put in thick cables when you can get away with thin cables? Because that was one of the advantages of going high voltage. You look at the teardowns of like the Porsche, the Hyundai, the Cybertruck. Those cables are super thin because they're not carrying as many amps. They're carrying the voltage, which is pretty cool. The adapters are free, so that is nice. We've seen some cases where other manufacturers haven't made you go out and buy it.
We're looking at you, GM.
Right? That's substantial cost. You can buy it from Hyundai. There were some Hyundai and Kia. There were some cars that were left out. The Kona and the Nero. That other less expensive one.
No, Nero's the car. Yeah.
Yeah. They basically didn't meet a date cutoff, so they will have to buy an adapter. And Tom's suggestion for those folks is, unless the adapter is like super cheap, just get a generic adapter if you have to buy your own. That way you don't have to worry about if you rent a car or a friend comes over, or for whatever reason that you'll be using an adapter on another car that can charge more amps. You don't have to worry about, especially if you have two of them, for instance. Maybe you get a used car for your kid. You can just toss that in the bag rather than having to think about, oh, this is the Kia one. Keep it with the Kia.
Right. So that's going to make okay. This is early 2025, so they're not on the network yet. But the Hyundai's cars are quite popular. The Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6 are quite popular. There's a lot of them out there. So this is going to start to make a difference in the superchargers. Not that Ford and GM didn't as well, but now we've got three brands, major brands that have access to it. And that's going to start to make a difference as time goes on. So keep an eye out there. And of course, if you're at a V4 anyways that has the Magic Dock, it doesn't matter what adapter you have, because of course you can use the Magic Dock adapter.
There's a news on that as well. So we learned that the Giga Shanghai is not really participating in this, even though they had the shells in their video, and that all the supercharger equipment has been coming from Giga Buffalo. Giga Buffalo isn't going to be providing the Magic Dock for much longer into the V4s. They're gonna just go next.
They're gonna stop deploying it.
Yeah.
Well, because of course they know that the industry is switching all to NACS anyways for native ports, as we saw last week with Lucid introducing their first model in the United States with a native NACS port. Yep. And that's what we should start seeing the news as we get into 2025 and a little further down the road. We're going to see a lot of the manufacturers coming out with those native ports. So not a big surprise.
Also, look at it this way: they're making them in banks of 8 now for the V4s, like the full V4s. And when you look at when you look at what they want for a profit margin, I would suspect that these adapters could cost them as much as $100 to $150. They're charging about $200 for it, right?
Yeah.
Inside the Magic Dock, and so if you could save, $100 per station, and you're putting out, what do we say, 20,000 stations just for this program,
yeah,
it adds up quick.
Makes a big difference. Absolutely. Yeah. 20,000 becomes 2 million.
It's like that.
Yes, indeed. Next, I am sure Casey knows about this particular story about the mobile superchargers.
Yes,
have started to be rolled out in force for this holiday season, and we actually got some photos that we can share.
I described the new one as like piglets, because the way they've had a revision from the last time we saw them in public.
Yeah, so here we are. And I don't think I have the attached text as to where each of these locations is, but there are 4 unique locations.
Yeah, and so we see that they've dropped the urban supercharger connection. I'm surprised. Well, sort of surprised that they did that, because the urban superchargers ran at 72 kilowatts. And what we saw the very last time that they were on one of these mobile superchargers was they were actually running at regular supercharger speeds. So they were running at 150 for the V2 connections that they have on there. And I guess now what it is, since they have a V3 cabinet and cars that can take V3, why not just do it at full speed? Because you got the liquid cooled cable and everything. These ones, I think we've seen one with the V4s on it, the V4 connections. So it'd be a V3 plus basically. But you can see there on the little above the kingpin, you've got 2 V3 cabinets. Behind them, or beside them, I should say, you've got a Megapack. I'm not sure if that is a current Megapack or a Gen 1.
I bet it is whatever they could find that was kind of sitting out in the backyard.
Exactly, prototype. It's just in my head for some reason. I picture the current Megapack being bigger, although that doesn't logically make any sense because it still has to fit as a shipping container 20-foot equivalent unit.
Yeah.
And then around it, we've got 8 or more. I think 8. Yeah, 8. Because we've got 2 supercharger cabinets. We've got 8 supercharger posts. But actually, more than that, you'll see that there's some of them in bags, just like they've always done with these mobile or forklift or various temporary supercharger installations. And the ones in the bags are covered because they only have so many ports that they can plug into, and they also wanted more positions depending on the layout of the lot that they drop these things in.
Right. They might charge on both sides, may only charge on one side, depending how they can position the step deck trailer that they've put into place here.
Exactly. And then on the
Yeah.
back side of it, you'll see they've got the conditioning equipment you usually find on a V3 site, along with that particular.
Notice the integration of a solar panel on
Yeah.
some of these units. That's kind of interesting.
I wonder if that's to run the computer, or surely they're not trickle charging anything substantial.
No.
Off of that.
No, definitely not. Not
There's
off
one on
one
each
panel.
side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's probably a key electronic system that they need to have power to all the time
Right.
to help. Maybe it is to open the connectors or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Keep the Starlink running and their whatever their need for the auto bidder, or it's really cool that they've got this thing in a mobile installation. It's not really built for mobile. They bring them in on a crane, drop them on your pad, and start making you money. But it's cool to see they found another use for these things.
And you can tell by the backgrounds of these photos that these are definitely in different geographical locations in the U.S. You've got this one with palm trees.
Yeah.
You got this one with the sandy hills, it looks like, of California or maybe Arizona.
Yeah.
And then this one, the trees look a lot more northeastish.
Oh, yes.
And then the final photo they provided, trees kind of look full with some greenery still. So it's got to be a warm place. So
Right.
maybe Georgia, maybe Oklahoma.
Maybe.
Not sure.
On this one, I took note that not only have they got two of them back to back, I noticed that they don't look as. It doesn't look like on the one closest to us. It doesn't look like the supercharger cabinets have overloaded the the equipment there. Whereas on the one in the back and every other photo, they were kind of listing a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the listing is probably because the step deck, of course, lowers at this point after the trailer detaches. So it is resting on the ground, and of course, this step deck part is now sloped like the trailer is.
Okay.
Yeah, so you might it kind of looks like it's overweighted on the tongue here,
Right.
but in reality, it's not. It's just an optical illusion of the trailer is now shorter at this angle because it's resting on the ground.
Okay, so the one in the foreground just happens to be perfectly on like flat ground or something.
Well, you can see this one's got wood pallets.
Oh, they jacked it
underneath
up. Okay.
So they jacked it up a little bit, and the space remains.
Yeah, and they decided we don't have time for that on all the others.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool that they were able to do that, and it's not a surprise that like originally I remember they had placed one of these mobile superchargers at the Madonna Inn. And that was a couple of years ago when it was helping with the holiday season as well. But at this point, it looks like they've produced a few of these units, and that's becoming standard protocol for them to allow them to help with the holiday rush at supercharger locations that they know has been an issue because, of course, they get all the data. They know exactly how much use those chargers are getting, and can compensate by getting a mobile unit out there if they're not already on the list for maybe a rebuild or an upgrade to that station to add locations in the future or stalls.
Yeah, and this is also going to be cool in situations where maybe there's a major grid cut. We've had this in the past where there've been pipeline issues with gasoline cars, where either through maintenance issues or sabotage or terrorism or whatever, and whole regions get cut off by losing their pipeline. Should something happen like that with electricity, these can actually drop down and handle that. And even if you can't, directly recharge them on like just a lower connection and just trickle charge them when there's no cars, they're on semi-trailers.
Right.
You just start rotation, which is pretty cool.
And that's kind of interesting that that over time, it's amazing that Tesla has been able to, I guess, comb the data that they're getting all the time, and to be able to make assumptions based on real data as well as speculative data as to, for example, how many cars have been sold in a particular area, how many people are traveling a certain route throughout the year, what kind of peak times are they seeing, and what kind of changes have to be accounted for in order to understand where the demand is going and where they see over time that it's going to go. It's amazing that they're able to use that data in that way.
Yeah, but on top of all that data, they found that they have pretty good luck just asking people where they want them and what they need them, because who better knows the local area than the people who travel through that or live there. Versus,
but I got to believe that the people that are going on these routes and saying, yeah, you need a charger here or you need a charger there, that's great, but they've got to have that same data already. Because if that person is actually traveling those routes and knows it from experience, then it's rolled into the data logs already. It's pre-baked.
Yeah, but if you've got a choice between I want site A and site B, why not let the voters vote on it?
Yeah, exactly. That is absolutely true.
I was trying to lead you into the Supercharger voting article you had in this.
You can't be subtle at all with me, Casey. I see. Hit me with a mallet right there.
So we've got an article about Supercharger voting for Q4. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so this particular article that came up was about the quarterly superchargers that are being voted on every quarter, and we made a comment inside of our Twitter feed a little while ago about getting your vote in before it ended. Well, the quarter vote has ended, and the winners have been announced. We are looking at, in the United States, we're looking at Hot Springs, Arkansas. We're looking at Clearmount, Florida, Teos, New Mexico, Johnson City, Tennessee, and Cody, Wyoming are the winners for Q4 2024.
How about in the Great North there?
That's right. We've got in Canada, the winners have been Yuclinet, British Columbia, Bathurst, New Brunswick, which I know exactly where that is. I was born close to Bathurst. Wow. Liverpool, Nova Scotia, Newmarket, Ontario, which is just north of the Greater Toronto area, and Lac-Mégantic, Quebec as well. That's just, I believe, north of Montreal area. All so right. Again, another group. And for Europeans, we've got. I'm gonna butcher these names. So any Europeans out there, I apologize in advance. But we got Sarajevo, Bosnia Herzegovina. We've got Dubrovnik, Croatia. We've got Liberec, Czech Republic. Tarnato, Italy. Warsaw South, Poland.
Yep, Warsaw. Okay. And only 3 in Asia this time.
Yep, only 3 in Asia. Braidwood, New South Wales, Australia, Hakabu Village, Japan, and what's this one? Casey, do you have any idea? Okay, we'll go with that. Seoul, South Korea. Yeah. So this is great. Now, of course, the polls have opened immediately for you to vote on the next group of superchargers for Q1 of 2025. So remember, you get 5 votes, and you can put them any way you like. But if you happen to have a spare vote, help us out in Sarnia, Ontario, and give us an extra vote. Trying to vote that one up on the list. Hopefully, we can get that border crossing covered in the near future.
And our friend Anders, he's probably seen a bunch of these in Sweden. They're all built out, ready to go, just not plugged in.
Very good, very good. So that's great news. What's that?
Is where that oil train rolled back into town.
That's right. That's right. That's where we had an oil car wreck. So bringing more superchargers to the roads more traveled is a plus in any way.
Some big guy on a kid squad just drove by.
Fun on the live broadcast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wanted to touch upon a different story about SpaceX and, of course, the Starlink terminals. Canada, as you're aware, is a vast country. We're the second largest country in the world, and we do have connection problems when you go to remote communities north of the population belt. And in order to bring those communities into the fold a little bit tighter, Canada has been trying to roll out high-speed internet to these communities so that residents have the option of getting connected to the online world in a faster fashion than what they're used to. Because, of course, there are no basically landlines that run thousands of miles north to connect. But Starlink, of course, has helped Northern Ontario in this goal. And now the government of Quebec is starting to purchase some of the Starlink gateways to allow northern Quebec residents to have access to these higher speed internet terminals.
Oh, and they're behind the ground stations.
They're behind the ground stations.
Wow, that's an investment.
Exactly. And there is an actual photo that I can share from Drive Tesla Canada.
Yeah, well, you love that. We used to talk about how so many places in Africa skipped ahead from like no communications to 3G and 5G. They just skipped all the mess in between. Well, these parts of Canada are. Wow, I didn't see that picture. I saw the terminals one. They skipped straight from no connection here to Starlink. So there was a while we were working with like Project Loom and like balloons, and so we had these low flying solar airplanes that would just loiter for months.
Yeah,
balloons. Now stick a satellite up there. Boom, got it.
Exactly. So they're putting these gateway terminals in strategic positions in northern Quebec and allowing them to sync up to the Starlink network and allowing internet access, of course, to be a lot more stable and fast. And of course, with the with the gateway in place, the terminals in place, the normal Starlink dishes work a lot better because it becomes a hub of sorts for the network to feed off of those satellites.
Yeah. And then the other cool thing about this is having these nodes in optimal locations. You don't need as many of them now that they've got the laser links on the birds. So you can put these in strategic areas where electricity and connections are cheap and fast, and then the satellites themselves can just laser the rest of it in between the ones that are either too remote or not optimal for connection or power or whatever the case may be.
Right. Let me see if I can give you an idea as to where in Quebec this would actually be. And it is remote. When I say remote, it's remote. So this is the bay in Canada that they're trying to cover. So that the southern shore down here. But as you can tell from the photo, as we zoom out, that this is way north of the population center. And for reference, the dots, of course, are from the Supercharger network that currently exists, and this map is supplied by supercharge.info. So definitely up north, very low population, rural, small amount, a lot of Inuit communities, and of course, giving them access to run a cable from southern Canada up to there is just not a doable cost. It just makes no sense financially. It's much better to pay for a wireless, or in this case, a satellite service.
Yeah, because this isn't just standard ground that you're either laying it over, on, or through.
Yeah, exactly.
Permafrost.
Yep. You've got roads that heave left and right. Poles will be falling down left, right, and center. You can't just lay the cable on the ground for fear of it being damaged. And this is rough territory. Previously, Ontario, which is this province here, Northern Ontario, was getting Starlink. This location in Quebec is even further north of that.
Yeah, and then once you get there, then you got to build out the town. Versus if you just put a dish on each house, you're good to go.
Yep.
Awesome.
So that's cool news, and it's something that again, it's something that communities learn about what's happening elsewhere, and governments learn that you look at the cost scenario, and it just makes sense.
Definitely. Exciting.
Well, with that, Casey, I think we're going to wrap up our special Christmas live episode.
Yes.
We want to say thank you for those in the chat room. We've got RC Robinson, Hockey Day has joined us, Highlander, of course, Anders, High Voltage, Lindell, Anders from Europe, and Dana joined us as well earlier. So thank you to all of you out there. We certainly wish you and your families a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And we look forward to getting back together with you guys soon in another week, which is going to be New Year's Day, right?
Yeah.
It's the Tesla Life Live falls on 2 holidays in a row. But
That's right.
We're dedicated, and we got nothing else to do, really. So we're here.
And any thoughts on if we're going to be early or on time or late or? I
think on New Year's Day, it's probably going to be early again.
Okay, this is fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep. So in the case, we started at 11 a.m. Eastern time, but we're usually 7 p.m. Eastern, but a little bit different during the holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Basim as well. Hello to you. Merry Christmas.
Rearrange the lights in the studio for a little bit of New Year's blast.
I want you to work on the lights are blinking or going in some line or row.
You're getting high tech on me.
Yeah, exactly.
I could probably do it, but I don't know if I'm set up for it yet.
Any shout outs from you, Casey?
Yes. So catch us on the Tesla Life Express edition 1 over on Friday, and at our usual time, 7 p.m. here on 7 p.m. Eastern on the Tesla Life Show. On Sunday, catch me and whoever else wants to join for Let's Chat with Casey and friends at youtube.com/Casey Green. And then again for edition 2 of the Tesla Life Express on Monday. And then we'll catch you back here for our New Year special at 11.
And if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. That really helps. I know it's a pain in the butt, I'm asking you, but please, it helps us out. We would really appreciate it if you could press that thumbs up anytime you watch one of the videos. And if you hadn't subscribed already, I have no clue what you're waiting for. This is free. It's fun. Please subscribe. Help us out. Thanks so much for doing so. And with that, we'll catch you next time and find out what's happening in the Tesla Life.